people pop on.
Sounds good.
Yep. What time is it there?
4 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to make these now that it's in my afternoon than when I was in Utah and they were at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. I don't like to get up early. I mean,
Yeah.
I will wake up in the morning to get my little one to school. And that's I usually have to get up about 6, but I end up going right back to bed when I get her out. So I am not an early morning person.
Yeah, I'm up between 6 and 6:24. Well, my husband gets ready for work and then I go back to bed as soon as he walks out the door.
That's awesome. Right. Well, it's showing that there's no one here, but yet someone liked it. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Okay. We'll give them another couple of minutes. It's only 10:01. So your husband's work took you over there? Okay, so anybody watching, Taylor is in Sweden and she just went recently and apparently so your husband's work took you there, right?
Yes. Yeah. So he works in construction for the US government. So
cool. Okay. Construction for the US government in Sweden.
Yeah. So like jobs that he could be on would be like military installations, embassies, that kind of stuff. Anything that the government would need built overseas.
I gotcha. Wow. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I would love to know what the path to that looks like, but hey, that's not for here or now.
Yeah, I didn't even know it existed until I met him.
It's not something I'd ever heard of. Hey, Lindsay.
Yeah.
I think Lindsay's in Disney, Florida.
Okay, cool.
She's got her family down there. I can't remember exactly where but I saw a most gorgeous picture of her and her family yesterday on Facebook. So I know they're on a little vacation. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. So tell us what the name of your business is.
So I titled my business Taylor Hyde Tutoring. Easy and simple.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Taylor Hyde Tutoring. That way, everybody knows it's you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why not? So, but you were tutoring before, right?
Yes. So I have an additional business called Study Buddy Tutoring that works with children in middle school and high school with math. So that's Study Buddy Tutoring. And then this business is Taylor Hyde Tutoring. So I do both.
So how does that work okay virtually?
I only have one student currently in Study Buddy Tutoring because of the time difference. He is my very last session of the day, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning for him. So it's kind of a struggle just with like the time difference, but we've worked it out to a time that's reasonable for both of us.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. Okay. All right. So, and you for startup companies or for entrepreneurs, what is it that you provide?
Yeah. So I work with non-native female entrepreneurs. So anyone whose native language is something other than English, and I help them improve their English fluency. So people who can currently communicate in the language but are struggling to become fully fluent, I help them get to fluency.
Yeah, and the little message that I sent out today to invite people to come, because I always do that. I don't know, you've probably gotten one of those from me. I do that so I can make sure that there's people watching. It was basically that you're gonna they'll avoid the prejudgment, because I know if I get on a call, just use customer service calls, for example, call in customer service and they're speaking with the heaviest accent, my immediate reaction is, oh gosh. Number one, because it's hard to understand and it just requires so much more effort. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So that's a very valuable service for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you end up getting started doing that?
Yeah, so I actually lived in Denmark for a year and a half when I was 19. And so I had to learn to speak Danish fluently. I was working as a religious missionary. So, in addition to needing to be able to communicate at the grocery store and at the post office, we also had to be able to communicate with people on their doorstep and in the street and talk to them about anything that they wanted to talk about. We had to be able to answer them. And so we got 6 weeks of language training before we left, and everything else we learned in country from natives and other missionaries who were there longer. So I, through that process, learned what it takes to become fully fluent in a second language and use it every day. And the difference between being like specialized in a language and like being able to say anything, because most of my Danish only works in religious contexts. I don't have a lot of business Danish, so I can't explain what I do in Danish.
Right.
And so I help people work on those specialized English skills when they already have the generic things to improve their specific business English skills on sales calls and consultations and all that.
Okay, so you help them improve with context what they're actually doing.
Yes, awesome. Exactly.
Yeah, because that visual of having to go to someone's door and knock on their door and have a conversation with them about pretty much anything is terrifying.
When I first arrived in the country, my communication abilities were at the level that I could knock on someone's door and say, "Hi, I is called Taylor. I is here for at learn you about God," and they'd go. So
they're probably like,
Exactly. So I learned why it's important to be able to communicate with people, that they will literally just stop listening. If you can't communicate with them effectively, they'll just stop listening and lose interest. And so being able to reduce your accent if necessary, improve your grammatical skills, improve just the number of words you can use and expand your vocabulary. All of those things are so important in succeeding in business.
Gotcha. Hi, Pam. Yeah. Pam says hello, ladies.
Welcome.
Yes. Okay, so I have a question with regards to that. From South Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, 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 very thick down there, right? Mm-hmm. I have been in the business world for a really long time, so I've managed to hide it when I need to. And I don't know how I managed to learn to do that, but I did. Mm-hmm. And I go home, it comes right back out, and I can sit there and talk to my dad and with the thickest of accents, just like anybody else. But mm-hmm. Do you work with people who have accents from New Jersey, who have a very thick New Jersey type accent, or South US, where the accent is very country, for lack of a better way to put it?
So I haven't yet, but I could theoretically. Yeah. So my college education is in speech language pathology, and something that speech language pathologists do is accent or dialect remediation, where they can actually help you fix your accent to sound like you're from wherever you want to be. That's and nice. So because I was born in Utah, where they have a very, very mild accent, I just teach people to imitate me. My husband's really good at mimicking other accents, and he told me for April Fool's Day that I should promote that I'm teaching people like Russian accents or something. Like, adopt a new accent. But I can't do that. I just have my accent. So I use the college education that I've learned on how sound is produced and how to change the way you talk. and what I learned in Denmark in learning to match native pronunciation. I kind of have combined both of those skills to help people learn how to imitate my accent, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so a Facebook user says hi. Somebody just pop your name and let me know who that is. Yes, the beauties of StreamYard. StreamYard is amazing. It's very reliable. I have loved it, but you have to go in and you have to allow StreamYard to view your information in order to get your name and to be able to, yeah. I mean, it's fine because they don't use it for any other reason, but now anytime I've done it, so anytime I go in, somebody else is using StreamYard, my name is there, but if you don't, your name is not there and we don't know who you are.
That makes sense.
Yes. All right. So how long have you been doing what you're doing?
So I started working with this business in June of 2020.
Yeah. You and I started about the same time.
Yeah. So Study Buddy has been a little bit longer. That was April. But then I decided to do this. I found my real passion. And so I would say Study Buddy tutoring is more of a side gig now. And this is what I do.
Yeah. Awesome. And what challenges have you faced in getting this business up and running?
Mm-hmm. I would say my greatest challenge so far has been actually reaching my ideal client, because they can be anyone, anywhere who wants to improve their English skills. And so I specifically work with female entrepreneurs, which makes it a little bit easier. But at the same time, I've seen that there's a large disconnect sometimes with people in that they're overly confident in their abilities. And so they say like, oh no, I've spoken English my whole life. I'm fluent. I've got it. And I'm like, I mean, I say I'm fluent in Danish too, but if you asked me to have a business meeting, I couldn't do it. And if you asked me to give you directions to the closest store, it would be hard. Yes, I can teach you about Jesus all day long, but that doesn't mean I'm fully fluent. And so it's been hard for me to communicate to my ideal client that they are my ideal client, if that makes sense. Sometimes they have a hard time recognizing that in themselves.
Yes, I could see that. I have a very similar issue with my ideal client because they don't want to deal with it. They would rather just not consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar. So I get that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So what have you done though with regards to that? What have you managed to do to?
So I've been focusing the last couple of weeks on using various opportunities to teach rather than trying to sell my services to people, teach people by what I do. And so now whenever I see people posting their offers on Facebook or whatever, if they're asking for input and they're like, hey, is this good? Should I post this places? Then if there are errors in it, then I'll just comment and be like, I like the concept, but I'll be honest, there's errors in here. If you want me to fix them, I will. And then go through and fix that post for them for free, just to be like, look, this is the difference between where you're at and where you could be in 8 weeks, you know, like that's so.
Yeah. There was an acquaintance, same general concept. I met her through the program that you and I are both in. And there were a couple times I would go in for her and just say, okay, this is good, but let's tweak it a little bit because she's not native English.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and she seemed grateful, but I could also tell that it wasn't very much like, okay, well.
Yeah.
I don't think they see that it's that much of an issue sometimes.
Yeah, it's never fun to be told that you're wrong or that you better. And honestly, I would be so embarrassed if people came and critiqued my Danish the way that I do with their English. However, I do want to be better at Danish and recognize that that's a necessary evil, right? So, I mean, living here in Sweden, trying to communicate with people, I literally will just I'll try, and then I'm honest and I'm like, you know what, I speak Danish and not Swedish, and I can understand you, but I have no idea how to respond to you. And they're like, okay. But then they teach me sometimes. Yeah. And they're like, oh, this is how you say that, And so, yeah, it's unfortunately, correction is just one of those necessary evils if you want to improve.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so bad. Because a lot of people are even that way about grammar.
Mm-hmm.
If I read somebody's post and they could be native English all day long, but if it's got grammatical errors, I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad from my standpoint. I shouldn't be like, but I think it's a natural thing. And then, of course, if I go back and read mine and I've messed up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that.
Well, and it's a matter of professionalism too, that, we expect things to be correct and we expect them to look professional. And so then when they don't, automatically our assumption is that person is not capable of delivering because they don't look as professional in our eyes. So that's one of the things that I would like to help with my services, is helping people who are not native English speakers present their skills on the same level that native English speakers are able to present themselves.
I love it. I love what you're doing. I think it's great. And hopefully figure out how to reach your exact audience very simply. Yeah. Okay, so now at this point, we're to the 1 or 2 tips that you can give us. So I know that there are several, actually probably many, non-native English speaking people in the group. So give us some tips.
So I would say the first thing is, unfortunately, English has rules, but we don't follow the rules very often. And a native English speaker will always be able to tell you if something sounds wrong. Even if it's grammatically correct, something will just sound off to our ear, and it's going to be jarring to everyone else listening to it or reading it. So if you have a close friend or a family member who can speak English natively, just run your post past them and be like, hey, does this sound awkward? Is there anything I should fix? And be open to those corrections, because you'll see yourself making the same mistakes over time and learn to correct them. So after a little while, you stop making those mistakes and you start making new mistakes, which means progress.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's perfect. Yep, you'll get over that. Stop making that mistake, but you'll start making some more, and that's perfect.
Exactly. So that would be my number 1 tip, is just run things past a native English speaker, have them look over whatever you're sending out. And the second one would be this is actually one of the things I teach in my program, and it's being able to identify patterns in sentences. So if you can look at a sentence that's like, my mom and I went to the store to buy grapes, and you can change that to, my coworker and I went to the post office to send out your package, and you can change those sentences from a basic pattern to something you can use, you're more likely to create correct sentences. So you can do that while watching TV, reading books, listening to native speakers. If you see a phrase or a sentence pattern, then you can learn how to switch out the words to say anything you want to be able to say.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, so I actually have a student right now. If any of you have read Junie B. Jones, we're reading the Junie B. Jones books together for 2 reasons. One is that it's teaching her pattern recognition, that she can see those basic sentences and learn to switch out words. And 2, the mistakes that Junie B. Jones makes are often the same mistakes that a non-native speaker would make, because she's still in kindergarten and 1st grade and learning how to communicate. Even native English speakers can't truly communicate until they're 8 years old. So she's still learning how to communicate. And so then I can point out the mistakes she makes and say, she does this and you do this too, but it's still not right. and they can see it out in writing, like, oh, that does sound awkward, I guess, now that I don't hear adults say things like that.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I never would have, okay. I never would have thought of that. Yeah, because I have a bookshelf right over here, right outside of my daughter's room. It's right across the hall. And yeah, there's tons of Junie B. Jones.
Yeah, I read all of them. They were my favorite as a kid. They're so helpful too.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything at all? Anything at all?
I would just say if improving your English is something you're serious about, then I can totally help you. I've developed a fully customizable program that takes either 8 or 12 weeks to complete, depending on how much time you have per week to commit. And I have a test that I give you at the beginning. There's the basic assessment that will test where you're at right now. So then we can set goals to help you improve and become a well-rounded English speaker. And then we'll set goals and work on vocabulary that's specific to your industry and learn those grammar patterns. We'll practice that together. And I can help you tweak your pronunciation as well. We'll go through every single sound in the English language and how to produce it correctly. And then you'll take the same assessment again at the end. So you can see like, oh, I went from 42% to 67%. I go through this program again, we'll get even better, and see that real-time improvement every 8 to 12 weeks.
That's wonderful. That is super, super, super. Well, Taylor, I'm very grateful to you. I think no one here knows. I don't think I even broadcasted it in the group. I had a hole in my schedule. I had a hole in the schedule that I just recognized yesterday, and there was nobody scheduled for today. So Taylor graciously offered to step in, and such an amazing, amazing topic. And I love what you do. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys go and have the most marvelous weekend that you can even imagine. All right. Bye, Taylor.
Bye.
Bye.